What would you do if the person you loved secretly tested your loyalty? Would you prove them wrong, or would you walk away forever? This is the story of how one test almost destroyed my relationship and somehow ended up saving both of us.
I met Ethan at a business conference in Seattle, the kind of place where people wore their success like armor. But he wasn't like that. He was quiet, thoughtful, the kind of man who doesn't need to speak loudly to be heard. He asked questions, really listened. There was a calmness about him that drew me in instantly. Our first conversation was about the terrible hotel coffee. I joked, this stuff could strip paint. He laughed, and that laugh, warm, low, unguarded, stayed with me. Coffee turned into dinner, dinner into late-night calls. We didn't fall fast, we fell gently. With Ethan, I felt safe, not excited, not dizzy safe. He had a steadiness that made the world around him feel softer. He told me he came from a modest family. I just exited my startup and was doing consulting, so money wasn't really on my radar. I cared more about how he made me feel. But one night, while we were watching an old romantic movie about two lovers who lose everything but stay together, Ethan asked something strange. If one day I lost everything, my job, my house, my savings, would you still stay? I laughed lightly. Of course I would. Why would you even ask that? He didn't answer. Just kept watching the screen, expression unreadable. That silence felt like the start of something I didn't yet understand. A few weeks later, Ethan said he wanted me to meet his parents. He suggested we visit his hometown, a small place 2 hours from Seattle. I was excited. Meeting the family felt like the next chapter. We drove early Saturday morning, the city fading behind us as forests and empty roads took over. He seemed quiet on the way, distracted, maybe nervous. When we arrived, I noticed the houses small, worn, paint peeling from fences. His parents' home was a one-story building with a rusted mailbox and an overgrown yard. It wasn't what I expected, but I didn't mind. I thought it was sweet he wanted me to see where he came from. Inside, the house smelled faintly of garlic and wood polish. His mother greeted me politely, her smile kind but tight. His father was quieter, watchful. Dinner was simple, spaghetti and garlic bread. It should have been warm, homey, but something felt off. Like the air was heavy with things unsaid. Halfway through dinner, his mother suddenly asked, "Do you love Ethan for who he is, or for who he could become?" I smiled, confused but sincere. For who he is, of course. She held my gaze, eyes sharp and tired. Then she said quietly, "A lot of women say that. Until the money disappears." The room froze. Forks stopped clinking. I glanced at Ethan. He just stared at his plate. I wanted to laugh it off, say it was just a weird comment, but the tension in that room, it didn't feel random. It felt like a test. After dinner, his dad mentioned how tough times had been: debts, job losses, bills. I tried to offer help, suggesting a few financial programs I knew through my consulting network. His mom smiled politely and said, "It's okay, dear. Some things can't be fixed with money." Her tone was calm, almost rehearsed. That night, as Ethan and I drove back to our hotel, I asked why his parents seemed so distant. He just said, "They're private people." But I couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. His mother's words replayed in my head, "Until the money disappears." Was she warning me? Testing me? Or testing for him? The next morning, Ethan seemed distant, distracted, lost in thought. I asked if everything was okay. He said, "Yeah, just thinking." But I could feel it. Something had shifted. I didn't know it yet, but that trip wasn't what it seemed. A week later, he came over unannounced. He looked exhausted, eyes red, hands trembling slightly. He sat down and said quietly, "I have to tell you something." My stomach dropped. He said the house wasn't theirs. His parents didn't live there. The entire weekend, the small home, the dinner, the questions was staged. He'd asked his parents to pretend to be struggling, to see how I would react, to make sure I wasn't with him for money. I remember just sitting there numb. Then I asked, "You tested me?" He nodded, shame written all over his face. "I needed to know you loved me for me, not for what I could give." I felt like my chest cracked open. Do you have any idea how humiliating that was? You didn't trust me enough to believe I meant what I said. He tried to explain, but I was already standing. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just whispered, "You didn't test my love, Ethan. You tested your fear." And then I walked out, leaving behind the man I thought I knew. The days that followed felt like moving through fog. Every time my phone buzzed, I hoped it was him and prayed it wasn't. I was angry, yes. But underneath that anger was something worse, disappointment. It wasn't just about the lie. It was the idea that love needed proof. I replayed the dinner over and over, the judgment in his mother's eyes, the fake exhaustion in his father's voice. I'd been performing for an audience I didn't even know was watching. 2 months passed without contact. Then one day, I came home to find a small envelope in my mailbox. Inside was a handwritten letter. Blue ink. Folded twice. I grew up watching my father's business fail. We lost our house. My mom almost left. Since then, I've believed love is conditional, that it lasts only while life stays comfortable. I tested you because I was scared. I didn't want to lose you the way he lost everything else. He ended the letter with, "I know I broke your trust. I'm working on understanding why I can't believe someone could love me without proof." I cried reading it. Not because it fixed anything, but because it sounded like the first honest thing he'd said in months. I didn't respond. But I didn't throw the letter away either. 3 weeks later, I ran into him at a charity gala. He was standing near the entrance, talking to a mutual friend. For a moment, I almost walked away. But he saw me first. He approached slowly, cautiously, like someone who knew he didn't deserve another chance. "You don't have to forgive me," he said. "I just wanted you to know I'm trying to be someone better. Someone who doesn't test love to feel safe." He looked different. Not just in his face, in the way he carried himself. Calmer. Softer. We talked. Then we kept talking. A few days later, he sent a message not asking to meet, just thanking me for listening. Then another. And slowly, like waves smoothing stone, the silence between us softened. We met for coffee one weekend. Then another. We didn't talk about the past at first. We talked about books, movies, travel. It felt simple again. But beneath every conversation, there was still a quiet question. Could I ever trust him again? Ethan started therapy soon after. He told me about it, how his therapist made him trace his fears back to childhood. He said he'd spent years believing that love was something you earned by proving you could survive loss. That testing people was his way of staying safe. I told him how his test had made me question everything, not just him, but myself. How I'd started wondering if I was naive to believe love could exist without games. He listened, really listened, the same way he had that first day we met. And for the first time since everything fell apart, I saw sincerity again. We didn't rush anything. We rebuilt slowly, piece by piece, with brutal honesty. He stopped hiding behind hypotheticals and started being vulnerable. He told me about his fears, his guilt, his shame. And I learned to say what I felt, even the ugly parts. That I was angry. That I was scared of being tricked again. That I still loved him, even when I didn't want to. Over months, something new began to grow, not the naive love we'd had before, but something deeper. A kind of love that understood the cost of trust. Ethan started volunteering with a nonprofit that helped families recover from financial loss, the kind that destroys relationships. He said it helped him realize how much fear had controlled his life. That his test wasn't just about money, it was about believing that love could only survive in scarcity. One night, we sat on a park bench overlooking the city lights. He said softly, "The test taught me something I didn't expect. Love doesn't need proof. It needs trust." He paused, then added, "I'm not asking to start over from where we were. I'm asking to start over from who we are now." I smiled, tears in my eyes. That's the only place real love can start, I said. And for the first time, I believed it. A year later, he invited me to the beach we used to visit. The sky was gold, the tide low, the air soft with salt. He didn't bring flowers or a ring, just a folded piece of paper. He handed it to me and said, "Read it before you answer." It said, "If you still believe in us, not who we were, but who we've become, then say yes. Not yes to marriage. Not yet. Yes to trust. Yes to trying again." I looked up, and for the first time, I saw a man who wasn't afraid anymore. I said yes. Not because I forgot the past, but because we'd both learned that love isn't a test you pass. It's a practice you choose. Every single day. Sometimes people test you, not because they doubt you, but because they can't believe they're worthy of being loved without conditions. But love that needs proof isn't love at all. Real love isn't proven. It's practiced one day, one choice, one act of trust at a time.